the Extinction Order. The Galactic Empire called it Operation Cleansing Dawn. For 3 days, the skies of Earth burned. Energy beams from orbiting dreadnoughts reduced continents to molten glass, oceans to steam, and cities to memories. Billions perished, and when the fire ended, silence claimed the planet. From the Emperor's throne world, a message was transmitted across the galaxy. The human infestation has been purged. Let their ashes serve as warning. Resistance is futility. And for 2 centuries, the galaxy believed it. But deep beneath the ruins of old Siberia, buried under a mountain of ice and rock, a pulse of power flickered. A machine mind stirred, a remnant of the Terran Defense Command's final contingency, Yaga Protocol. The AI's voice was soft, almost reverent, as ancient servers hummed to life. Cryostasis integrity, 98%. Time elapsed, 187 years. Mission parameter, species continuity. 2 capsules hissed open in the dim light. Frozen mist spilled across the steel floor as 2 human figures emerged, pale, scarred, and still breathing. Commander Elena Voronova, call sign Baba Yaga, blinked through the frost. Her last memory was fire, orders to retreat, a blinding light, then nothing. She tore the monitoring cables from her arms, every breath burning like acid. Beside her, Captain Marcus Kane, the soldier the underworld once whispered about as the Boogeyman, stirred awake. His left arm gleamed with cybernetic plating, his eyes adjusting to the dim with a predatory calm. Yaga, he rasped, voice like gravel. How long? 187 years, she replied, scanning the room. Her voice was steady, clipped with the same steel discipline she once used to command orbital divisions. Earth, the AI responded, its tone stripped of emotion. Habitable biosphere, destroyed. Surface population, 0. You are the last confirmed human life forms. Silence stretched between them. The last. Elena clenched her fists. The Empire thought they'd erased humanity. They hadn't. Not yet. They dressed in salvaged combat suits, faded red and black armor marked with the insignia of the fallen Terran vanguard. As they ascended through maintenance tunnels to the frozen surface, the world above greeted them with deathly quiet. Mountains of glassy ice reflected the pale light of a broken sun. Skeletons of cities jutted from the snow like tombstones. Kane exhaled slowly, breath fogging his visor. You ever think about what comes after extinction? Elena didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on a faint signal on her wrist scanner. A beacon, faint but pulsing. Not human, she murmured. Different frequency. Alien distress code. The coordinates led them across the wasteland to an ancient satellite relay, half buried in ice. Inside, they found a small working terminal powered by a decaying fusion core. The message looped endlessly. To any free species, this is the Krell resistance. We fight the Galactic Empire. We need allies. They destroyed our world like they destroyed yours. Elena stared at the message for a long time. The Empire's reach hadn't ended with Earth. They were still conquering, still enslaving. The same war that ended humanity was devouring others. Kane stepped beside her, folding his arms. Rebellion suicide, he said. They'll crush them like they crushed us. Maybe, Elena said quietly. But they don't know what humans are capable of. She turned to the AI core embedded in her wrist device. Yaga Protocol. Upload all remaining Terran tactical archives. We're going hunting. Confirmed, Commander. Tactical data restored. Suggesting caution, current armament insufficient for direct assault. Elena smiled faintly. We'll start small. They think we're ghosts? Let's haunt them. Kane grinned at that, his old, wolfish grin. Haunting's my specialty. They scavenged what they could. Pulse rifles from old bunkers, shield emitters from downed drones, even an orbital transport craft buried under the ice. It took weeks of freezing nights and half-dead days, but soon the engines roared again, cutting through the silence of the dead planet. As they ascended through the thin, cracked atmosphere, the stars came into view, uncaring, endless, waiting. Elena looked down at the gray sphere that had been home. We'll make them remember Earth, she whispered. Kane strapped himself into the co-pilot's seat. You mean vengeance? No, she said, eyes cold. Legacy. The ship broke orbit, vanishing into the black. Far across the galaxy, in a glittering Imperial citadel, a sensor technician frowned at an anomaly. A faint Terran signature, one that shouldn't exist, had pinged the network for the first time in nearly 2 centuries. He ran the scan twice, then thrice. The result was the same. 2 unidentified life forms, human genetic markers, leaving Sol system. When he reported it, the Overseer dismissed him. Impossible, the alien sneered. Humans are extinct. But the data remained, a spark waiting to ignite. And far from their sight, 2 ancient warriors of Earth plotted their return. One named after a witch feared by children, the other after a monster whispered of in nightmares. In the frozen silence between stars, the legend of Baba Yaga and the Boogeyman took its first breath. Whispers in the void. The stolen Imperial dropship drifted silently through the void, its identification codes masked by Yaga Protocol's mimic algorithms. Inside, the 2 last humans sat opposite each other, the hum of engines the only sound. Commander Elena Voronova, Baba Yaga, studied the holomap projected between them. Target system, Taron 3, she said. Industrial hub, slave labor, high Imperial presence, and communication access to half the sector. Marcus Kane, the Boogeyman, leaned back in his seat, checking the charge on his pulse blades. You're thinking of hijacking their network? I'm thinking, she said coolly, of reminding them why they feared humanity. Yaga Protocol's voice filled the cabin. Probability of survival, 14%. Kane smirked. That high? Must be our lucky day. The dropship descended through the polluted clouds of Taron 3. Below them stretched endless mining fields, where thousands of enslaved aliens worked under the glare of drones and mechanized overseers. The air shimmered with toxic haze. Lightning cracked across sulfur skies. As night fell, the ship landed on the outskirts of a derelict sector. The 2 humans emerged, red dust clinging to their armor, weapons slung over their backs. Elena activated her helmet comm. No mistakes. No witnesses. Kane chuckled softly. Wouldn't dream of it. They moved like phantoms through the shadows, silent and methodical. Kane's enhanced optics mapped enemy patrols. Elena synchronized their neural links, sharing sensory data. Every step, every breath, every flicker of motion was calculated. When they reached the control outpost, a squad of Imperial soldiers, tall, 4-armed insectoids in black armor, stood guard. Elena raised 2 fingers. Kane nodded. 1 heartbeat later, silence turned into slaughter. Kane was a blur, blade flashes in the dark, steel whispering through flesh. The soldiers didn't even have time to scream. Elena's rifle hissed once, twice, precise burst dropping targets mid-step. By the time the last guard fell, the air reeked of ozone and ichor. They entered the control center. The screens glowed with Imperial runes. Elena connected Yaga Protocol's interface to the main data conduit. Upload the worm, she ordered. Confirmed. Infiltrating communication grid, transmitting modified signal pattern. Within minutes, the Empire's propaganda network was rewritten. Across Taron 3, every drone, every projector, every broadcast channel began to glitch, replaced by static and a distorted human voice. You said we were gone, but the ghosts of Earth remember. We are watching. We are waiting. The overseers panicked. Soldiers scrambled to cut power to the towers, but the message had already spread. In the dark barracks and underground tunnels, the enslaved aliens lifted their heads for the first time in years. Humans, someone whispered. The legends are true. By dawn, the mine was in chaos. Rebels struck at their guards using stolen tools and scavenged weapons. Amid the smoke and confusion, 2 figures moved unseen. One red, one black, leaving behind no trace but fear and freedom. When Imperial reinforcements arrived hours later, they found only corpses, burned-out machines, and walls smeared with 2 strange symbols. A skull within a circle, and a witch's sigil of spiraled flame. The officer in command stared at the marks, trembling. "Those aren't alien," he muttered. "They're human symbols." "Impossible," his second-in-command said, voice quivering. "Humans are extinct." But even as he spoke, the planetary communication array erupted again, broadcasting a new message across the stars. "You called us monsters. You were right." In orbit, Elena and Kane watched from the dropship as Taron 3 burned in revolt. Kane was cleaning his blade, expression unreadable. "You know they'll come for us now. Every Inquisitor, every Hunter, every machine they have." "That's the point," Elena said. "Let them come. The more they chase us, the more the others believe." He glanced at her. "Others. Every enslaved race. Every broken world. Hope spreads faster than fire." Yaga Protocol's holographic form flickered beside them, a shimmering outline of a woman made of code. Imperial intelligence intercepts confirm widespread unrest. 17 colonies report rebellion. The term human has resurfaced across encrypted channels. Elena nodded. "Good. Then we've started something they can't stop." Hours later, in the heart of the Galactic Empire, the disturbance reached the Emperor's attention. The chamber was vast and silent, walls of obsidian reflecting the glow of starlight. The Emperor, a being of pure psionic energy encased in armor of black crystal, listened as his advisor spoke. "Your Excellency," one stammered, "multiple sectors report insurgent activity. The rebels claim allegiance to humans." The Emperor's voice was like cold thunder. "Humans are extinct. Their world is dust." "Yet the reports persist," said another advisor nervously. "Two entities, one identified as Baba Yaga, another as Boogeyman, have been linked to the attacks." At the mention of those names, the Emperor's aura flared, cracking the air. "Those names are forbidden," he hissed. "Purge the records. Find these pretenders. Bring me their heads." The order rippled through the fleet like a storm. The Empire's most feared hunters, the Inquisitors of the Void, were dispatched. On the dropship, far from the Empire's gaze, Kane stood at the viewport, staring into the endless dark. "They'll be coming," he said. "They'll find ghosts," Elena replied. "And ghosts don't die." Kane smirked. "Still, we're two people against an empire. Then we'll make them fight us like we're 1,000. Outside, the stars shimmered, silent witnesses to the rebirth of a forgotten race. Across dozens of worlds, the whispers began. "The humans have returned. The witch and the monster walk among us." And somewhere deep in the Emperor's heart, for the first time in 1,000 years, a seed of fear took root. The Empire's nightmare. The Zereth bell hung like a ring of shattered glass around a dying star. Millions of asteroid fragments, half mined by the Empire and left to drift. Once, it was a prosperous hub. Now, it was abandoned space, haunted by echoes and ghosts. That made it perfect. Commander Elena Voronova, Baba Yaga, and Captain Marcus Kane, the Boogeyman, had turned an old Imperial refinery into their fortress. The massive structure, half embedded into a drifting rock, pulsed with stolen power cells and reprogrammed defense grids. The Yaga Protocol AI managed the entire station, its calm synthetic voice guiding reconstruction like an invisible hand. Perimeter defense recalibrated. Trap arrays operational. Incoming signatures detected. Imperial strike fleet, estimated strength, 9 battlecruisers for carriers. Kane grinned as he checked the charge on his railblade. 9 battlecruisers for 2 people. That's flattering. Elena didn't smile. "They'll hit us with everything they have." "Good. Let's give them something to remember." The Imperial Armada approached in formation, weapon ports glowing crimson. Inside the command ship, Inquisitor General Vrax, a skeletal alien wrapped in psionic armor, watched his screens. "These are the last coordinates," said his lieutenant. "The human insurgents are cornered." "Cornered?" Vrax hissed, mandibles twitching. "No, Lieutenant. Humans don't corner. They bait." Before the words finished leaving his mouth, the first explosion tore through his fleet. Inside the asteroid base, Yaga Protocol executed the first strike. Ion mines detonated across the field, releasing electromagnetic pulses that crippled ship sensors. Dozens of Imperial fighters collided in the confusion, erupting into flame. From the shadows of the belt, human-engineered drones, reactivated relics of Earth's lost wars, surged forward. Their targeting systems were primitive, but Elena's tactical feed guided them with inhuman precision. "Target carriers thrusters," she commanded. The drones obeyed, unleashing salvos of plasma torpedoes that shredded engines and scattered debris. Kane launched himself from the hangar in an armored drop pod. It cut through the chaos like a meteor, slamming into the hull of a cruiser. The hatch blew open, and he stepped out with his rail blade igniting in blue fire. He was the Boogeyman, death in motion. He tore through corridors, his blade cleaving through armor and steel alike. Every time he struck, his armor absorbed kinetic energy and fed it back into his systems. Soldiers screamed, shots ricocheted, alarms blared, but Kane moved faster, stronger, unstoppable. On the command deck, Vrax watched the feed with disbelief. "He's a single man." "A human," hissed the lieutenant. Vrax slammed a claw against the console. "Then end him." They unleashed drone swarms, lockdown fields, and plasma sentinels. Kane cut through them all. When the ship's reactor began to overload, he activated his jump drive and vanished in a flash of blue light, returning to the base just as the cruiser erupted behind him in a fireball. Meanwhile, Elena commanded from the station's control room, calm and cold as ever. Her every word turned chaos into orchestration. "Yaga Protocol, rotate magnetic field 10 degrees. Draw them into the debris corridor." Confirmed. A shimmering energy field formed, pulling half the enemy fleet into the densest part of the belt. The asteroid's metallic cores interfered with navigation, turning formation into panic. Elena's voice echoed across the comms network she had hijacked from their own channels. Her tone was low, deliberate, terrifying. "You thought we were extinct. You thought wrong. We are the nightmare you created." Across the fleet, Imperial soldiers froze as her voice whispered through every comlink. Even Vrax felt his psionic field waver. The humans weren't just fighting, they were haunting. Kane joined her at the command deck, wiping alien blood from his armor. "That's half their fleet down," he said. "We could leave now, before the rest regroup." Elena shook her head. "No, they need to see." She activated the visual feed and broadcast a live image of herself to every ship. No mask, no distortion. Just a human face, cold, determined, alive. "We were the first to defy you," she said. "We won't be the last." And with a final command, she detonated the central reactor of the captured refinery. The explosion rippled outward, consuming the remaining Imperial ships in a cascade of light. When the shock wave faded, only the asteroid field remained, silent once more. Hours later, news of the battle reached the galaxy. Entire worlds replayed the footage. A human woman standing before an inferno, a cybernetic soldier wielding blue fire, their message echoing across the stars. For the oppressed and enslaved, it was a miracle. For the Empire, it was blasphemy. Across 17 sectors, revolts broke out. Prison mines erupted in chaos, and alien species once broken under Imperial rule began chanting two names. Baba Yaga, the Boogeyman. The Empire called them terrorists. The enslaved called them saviors. The galaxy called them legends. In the aftermath, the two humans sat in the shattered remains of their base, orbiting debris glowing in the void. Kane stared at the wreckage. "That was a message, wasn't it?" "Yes," Elena said softly. "Now the Empire knows fear again." Yaga Protocol flickered into existence beside them. Incoming transmission, origin unknown. Encrypted using Terran's syntax. Elena's eyes narrowed. "Terran? That's impossible." Decoding, the AI continued. Message reads, "You are not alone." Silence fell. Kane leaned forward, a rare smile ghosting across his face. "Guess extinction's overrated." Elena looked out at the stars, her reflection caught in the glass. "No," she said quietly. "It's just the beginning." Far away, the Emperor watched the same footage, his crystalline armor pulsing with rage. For the first time in millennia, the unbreakable empire felt something unfamiliar, doubt. If humanity has returned, he whispered, then the age of fear begins anew. And across the galaxy, two ghosts from Earth prepared for their final stand. The witch and the monster who refused to die. Awakening the legend. The Eclipse Sovereign blotted out the stars. A city-sized warship, flagship of the Emperor himself. It radiated power that could crush worlds. Beneath its shadow, debris fields drifted, remnants of the Zereth fleet, destroyed by two humans who refused to die. In its throne chamber, the Emperor hovered above a pool of molten crystal, his psionic energy pulsing like a heartbeat. Enough of this mockery, he hissed. Summon every fleet. I want their ashes scattered across the void. The order was absolute. Armadas mobilized across the Empire's core sectors, converging toward one location, the Edge Nebula, where faint human transmissions had been detected. There, within a dying red cloud, two figures waited, aboard a reprogrammed war barge stolen from the Empire's scrapyards. The ship's hull bore no markings, no allegiance. It was death incarnate, silent and patient. Baba Yaga stood before the holographic map, eyes hard as iron. That's the biggest fleet we've seen, she said. Over 1 million soldiers, 3,000 ships. All for us. Marcus Kane leaned against the console, armored gauntlets tapping rhythmically. Guess we made an impression. Elena didn't respond. Her gaze fixed on the pulsing icon at the center, the Eclipse Sovereign. If we take out the flagship, we break the chain. The rest of their fleets will collapse into confusion. Suicide, Kane said bluntly. We won't make it back. We're not supposed to, she replied. We finish what humanity started. For a moment, silence filled the room, heavy but resolute. Kane sighed and cracked a grin. Then let's make it loud. Hours later, the human war barge tore through the nebula, engines roaring like thunder. Behind it followed a swarm of captured drones, refitted and armed by Yaga Protocol, a phantom army of machines that bore the marks of human ingenuity. Operation Phoenix commencing, said the AI, voice steady. Target lock on Eclipse Sovereign. Defensive systems online. The Imperial fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, surrounding the nebula like an iron ring. Thousands of ships unleashed a barrage of plasma fire, turning the clouds into oceans of flame. Elena's hands danced across the console. Deploy decoys. Redirect their targeting arrays. Confirmed. Holographic illusions bloomed in space. Hundreds of false signatures scattering across the nebula. The fleet fired wildly, destroying shadows while the true war barge dove straight toward the flagship. Inside the control chamber of the Eclipse Sovereign, alarm screamed. Unknown vessel approaching. It's breaking through the perimeter. Destroy it, the Emperor commanded. No survivors. The war barge shook under fire. Metal screamed. Systems flickered. Still, it surged forward. Kane took the helm, manual controls overriding autopilot. They're throwing everything they've got, he growled. Good, Elena replied. They're distracted. From the war barge's underbelly, a cluster of glowing capsules launched, microcores loaded with Yaga Protocol's viral code. They slammed into the Sovereign's hull, burrowing through armor and spreading through its networks like wildfire. Infiltration successful, reported the AI, initiating reactor overload sequence. The Emperor's psionic senses flared. Something's inside our systems. Purge it. But it was too late. The ship's power matrix began to ripple out of control. Meanwhile, Kane suited up, sealing his armor and holstering his railblade. You'll need time to finish the overload, he said. I'll buy it. Elena looked up sharply. Marcus, if you go out there. He smirked. It's what I do, remember? The Boogeyman keeps the monsters busy. Before she could argue, he was gone. Leaping from the war barge into the void, a human comet streaking toward the flagship's hull. He crashed through the outer bay, carving a path through the Emperor's elite guard. Plasma bolts hissed off his armor. Blades clashed in showers of sparks. Kane moved like a storm, relentless, unstoppable. The Emperor himself descended from the command dais, his body encased in black psionic flame. Human, he roared, voice shaking the metal around them. You should not exist. Kane grinned beneath his visor. Yeah, people keep saying that. The two collided. Psionic fire met steel, energy waves rippling through the deck. Kane's armor cracked, but he didn't stop. He plunged his rail blade deep into the Emperor's chest, snarling, "This is for Earth." The Emperor unleashed a psychic blast that sent Kane flying, but the damage was done, his armor fractured, his essence flickering. As Kane collapsed, bleeding light and smoke, he activated his comm. "Yaga, do it." On the war barge, Elena's eyes glistened as she pressed the final command. "Reactor overload in progress," said Yaga Protocol. "Time to detonation, 60 seconds." She opened a galaxy-wide transmission. Every Imperial channel, every rebel frequency. Her voice carried across the stars. "We were never gods. We were never monsters. We were human, and that was enough." The Eclipse Sovereign erupted in a blinding sphere of light. The explosion tore through the nebula, vaporizing half the Imperial fleet. Shock waves rippled across space, and for a brief, impossible moment, the stars themselves seemed to burn brighter. When the light faded, there was nothing left but silence and the echo of her words. Centuries later, in the archives of the Free Galactic Coalition, scholars still spoke of that day. The fall of the Eclipse Sovereign marked the end of the Empire and the birth of a new age. No one ever found the bodies of Baba Yaga or the Boogeyman. Some said they died in the explosion. Others swore they'd seen two figures, one in red, one in steel, walking among the edge stars, guiding lost ships to safety. Their symbols became banners of freedom. Their names became oaths. For Earth, for the witch and the monster. And in every whispered story, one truth endured. They said no human could survive the Galactic Empire. But Baba Yaga and the Boogeyman did more than survive. They awakened humanity's legend.